Hey, it's Fox from Inferno Fox Gaming, and this is an end of an era for one of Nintendo's most successful consoles, the Nintendo Switch. So this video itself, it's inspired by a Kit and Krista podcast episode talking about their favorite moments of the Nintendo Switch. And so I figured, let me share my favorite moments of the Nintendo Switch. And these, of course, may and probably will differ from many of yours. So make sure you let me know your favorite moments in the comment section below. And while you are there, make sure that you like the video, hit subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Let's get right to it. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will go down in the books as one of the greatest day one releases for a console launch ever. But that was pretty much it for this guy when it came out. I mean, sure, it had 1-2 Switch and, Super Bomberman R, but most people who got the Switch day one had Breath of the Wild. And what a world to dive into. Players like myself lived the OG developer Shigeru Miyamoto's dream of exploration he had when he made the original NES Legend of Zelda. The level of freedom and wonder of exploration made Hyrule itself such a fantastic place to root out and find a number of secrets there. And the amount of community that I had with my friends playing Breath of the Wild was amazing, as I'm sure for those of us that got the Switch on day one with Breath of the Wild have also had that sort of experience. Regarding that, my favorite memories are playing this and comparing notes with my friends like Jason the 13th, Mobster, and their oldest brother Basslander. To that end, one of my favorite memories is the fact that Basslander's son had gotten into Breath of the Wild as one of the first video games they ever played. I always thought that was really cool, and just hanging out with friends and talking about, oh, did you find this Korok seed? Did you find that? Now, I was the first of us to get all the shrines and great fairies and max out a number of outfits. But again, just fun to see where we were all at, and just making sure that not only are we missing things? Are we making sure to get them? But also like sharing stuff like amiibo. So that's definitely really cool to be able to take advantage of that. Personally, I had to travel about maybe 4 to 6 times a year for work across the United States. And, I enjoyed traveling and seeing the various cities, exploring what they had to offer, meeting new people there. But, when it came time to decompress and rest and relax in the hotel room, or, maybe I'm waiting to board the plane, or I'm on the plane and it's like anywhere from like a 2 to 5 hour flight, the Switch was king for entertainment. I was really impressed with what the battery life could do on this, because I've never had any less than like 3 to 5 hours of battery from 100% charge to nothing. And again, if a lot of these airports themselves and planes have charging stations on the seats or at the seats wherever you're waiting around, so that's very nice. Again, your mileage may vary, but it's just wonderful to be able to have a home console grade system at my fingertips to help kill time, avoid loneliness, and honestly keep my sanity. Well, also really great to connect onto local hotel Wi-Fi and play with friends while I'm in a whole nother city. Because there was only so much that I could see in Omaha, Nebraska, until it was time to I want to jump online and play some games with friends. And not only is it just a great system for new video games, but a number of games from previous systems had been re-released or ported. So like not just on the NSO collections for like NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance, Color, and Nintendo 64, but also various collections like the amazing Castlevania ones that Konami's put out, and similarly with the Mega Man ones that Capcom has done. These allow new players to experience classic games, as well as older players to replay their favorites. And beyond that though, beyond these ports and collections, again, biggest moment was the remakes and the remasters that came out. And I gotta give a shout out to some of my favorite first party ones, which absolutely has to be number one is Metroid Prime Remastered. Retro Studios, basically on the guts of the original Metroid Prime, overlaid just such a fantastic looking remake that they were able to update the controllers to not only include gyroscopic and motion control ones with like the Joy-Cons and everything, but the sort of twin stick controls that honestly make the game feel a lot easier and more friendly to play. This makes me excited to play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond that way. Another excellent first-party remake, Super Mario RPG. I mean, you take the original one, which is a absolutely fantastic RPG game. At the time, a strange hybrid of RPG and Mario, but obviously now, nearly 30 years later, it's something that Mario has done almost you could say done to death, but just what Super Mario RPG did and what they did with this remake is absolutely phenomenal. They did make it a little bit easier. Nintendo, I'm still waiting for a difficulty update to add a hard difficulty, but speaking of RPG remakes for Mario, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. This is of course more of a remaster than a remake, but it was absolutely amazing experience. Obviously, I loved the original Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario 64, but I never played the GameCube one. I was really glad to have that experience first with The Thousand Year Door on the Switch. Amazing. Another absolutely excellent first-party remake or remaster is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Now, I never had played the original Wii version because I really slept hard on a lot of single-player experiences during that particular generation, pretty much sticking with Mario, Zelda, and Metroid. But this, really some absolutely excellent Kirby platforming fun, really what you would expect for a Kirby game, but I also really enjoyed the Magolor post-game content, which sort of played like a Kirby RPG, and it was something that I had talked about on a previous video where you have certain Nintendo characters going beyond their genres. So it was really cool to have that sort of taste, and it worked. It really makes me hope that there's going to be a unique evergreen title for Kirby that will take advantage of those RPG-like mechanics. And of course, last but not least, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, another excellent remake. That really is a full-on remake, and I'm really excited to see that play with 60 frames per second with no frame drops on the Switch 2. Some great third-party remakes that definitely need to have to mention. The top of the list absolutely is Live Alive. What a superb remake of an original Super Nintendo RPG that we here in the West never got, and I actually never played any sort of a translation of the original, and just Megalomania, absolutely fantastic boss music. Really recommend that, as well as the 7 stories in the 8th and how that ties all of it in together. Another great remake is the Haunted Castle Revisited, part of the Castlevania Dominus collection. Really was a surprise and a great one, and really felt like a return to form for a classic 2D Castlevania. Also, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. Jury's kind of out about that being like a good or great Final Fantasy game, but what they were able to do with that particular entry was really stellar insofar as all the quality of life improvements and, you know, the joke, you're the best looking guy here. Well, now Squall really does look like that. So, and then finally, big shout out to Doom 64. What a great return to a relatively obscure Doom game. I mean, I owned that on the Nintendo 64 and spent hours going through all of the 30 levels and the bonus levels and everything like that, getting all the artifacts to finally beat the last boss. And just seeing it run reminded me of Metroid Prime Remastered. In, you know how your mind remembers something and how it plays, and then you go back to it and it's like, really, it was like that? These remakes and remasters of Metroid Prime Remastered and Doom 64 do a great job of capturing of, yeah, this is how I remember it, and that's what makes them really special. Now, I did have a Wii U, but I really didn't get into indies that much on the Wii U, save, of course, Shovel Knight, because, I mean, it's Shovel Knight. That game is a masterpiece. I mention that because since, of course, it was the indie scene that helped to keep Wii U owners entertained and keep the Wii U itself relevant when, of course, Nintendo's first-party game output completely dried up after the first couple years of release. And honestly, a lot of the AA and AAA output from third-party developers sort of, they turned the tap off on the Wii U. But the Switch got most of those indies that went on the Wii U and more. Some of the notable ones that I absolutely loved, of course, Hollow Knight. I mean, it's Hollow Knight. What can you say about that absolutely fantastic Metroidvania that just plays so well? And it was the Switch that also got me into Undertale. And I mentioned it before, but the description on the Nintendo eShop does not do Undertale justice for what kind of a game that is. I love how short it is, but I also love just the depth of it as well. Another fantastic game, Axiom Verge. It's probably a top 5 Metroid game for me. Yes, I know it's not a Metroid game, but I mean, come on, it's Metroid in all but title and developer. Thomas Happ did oh my gosh, just a stellar job making Axiom Verge up to and including the absolutely fantastic soundtrack. Then of course you got Sea of Stars, makers of The Messenger. And then I also got into Balatro, not on my mobile phone, but on the Switch. That was a ton of fun. And regarding notable indies, last one I'll mention is Hades. You can't go wrong with Hades, and playing Hades 2 at the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience in Dallas. That tells me that we're going to be in for a good time with that. And then, of course, the Switch did a really good job of publishing titles for indies that maybe aren't as well known, such as Iconoclast or even Time Spinners. Really a lot of great fun, and it was really great there. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that. I never played an Animal Crossing before, nor do I intend to. I did say this is my top 5 moments, not everyone else agrees that these are the most important moments in this console's lifetime, that if everyone doesn't say the same thing, then I'm going to be in trouble. No, not doing that. These are my moments with this absolutely fantastic system. Instead, I'm going to say I'm among the many old dogs that have been playing the Super Smash Bros. Series since the Nintendo 64 days. I've never missed a single title in this fantastic series. I also jumped on the hype train pretty hard for new entries and new characters, even, of course, with Smash Ultimate, but also all of the games beforehand. Now, Nintendo revealed Smash Ultimate as the last trailer back in a March 2018 Nintendo Direct. I went into E3 2018's live stream presentation focused on a full look at this newest game. Not only did it look much more impressive overall than the previous Wii U entry, but it was amazing to see the individual character reveals. Now, I was worried that my dream character, Cloud, wouldn't come back, because Square Enix sometimes tends to be a little chintzy about reappearances of guest characters on games, and let alone like them appearing as guests in games. But when he appeared in that part of the trailer, I was absolutely thrilled. Then the crescendo of music hit a lull. Snake was revealed along with Everyone Is Here. The music struck back up as they proceeded to reveal the entirety of all the characters that were in the games before. And this was an absolutely thrilling moment, almost unreal, as seeing the likes of even Young Link and Pichu come back felt like an impossibility. The rest of the presentation, of course, revealed the rest of the details, new characters, and a final release date, but it was the Everyone Is Here moment that became cemented as the greatest Nintendo Switch 1 moment for me of all time, and Smash Bros. Ultimate ended up being probably my favorite game on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, look at my wall here. I have almost an entire wall dedicated to this fantastic game. So it's no wonder that I have a lot of love for Smash Ultimate and the series, and of course, this fantastic system. The Nintendo Switch will ultimately be cemented as one of the greatest consoles, both released by Nintendo and of all time. And of course, these moments I shared are just a few of many moments of greatness for such a fantastic console. And again, as I said in the beginning of the video, I want to ask you what your favorite moments of the Nintendo Switch are. Make sure that you let me know that in the comments section below. I'd love to start a dialogue with you guys. I'd love to start a conversation. And what were your thoughts on my favorite moments? Should I have brought up Animal Crossing, even though I never played it and I never will? Let me know that as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and hope that you have a great day.